So I'm joined by Jasmine Sandler, who is the CEO of Agency Marketing. First of all, welcome, Jasmine. We just did a really good panel session over there, I think, on social and the C-suite. Firstly, can you just give me, or give us, give the ClickZ readers, just a few points that came out of your presentation?
Yes, thank you, Melanie. I thought it was great too.
It was good.
So the point of the presentation is really to teach the audience and those that are trying to sell to the C-suite how to first break the barrier of the doubt and fear that the C-suite has in actually taking money and investing in social media. So what I talked about in the presentation is how you can show both through qualitative and quantitative metrics, brand lift, sales, driving a brand of the CEO, him or herself, and really how social media should be taken seriously as a marketing tool, and more importantly, embedded across all of the marketing programs that a company is doing, because it has effect, both negative and positive, towards the organization.
Okay, and one of the things I did get out of your presentation was there is currently a fear from some CEOs and their willingness to adopt social because they're worried about their online reputation.
Yes.
What can we do about that? What can marketers do about that? How can we convince the CEOs that all is okay?
First of all, they need to listen, and they need to listen daily. That's why it's important, as I said in the presentation, that they need to understand their social sentiment, and they need to use monitoring tools to assess what people are saying, not only about their company, but about the individual CEO and about their products and services and their customer service, because that's what social media is all about. Secondly, what they need to do is they need to be there, and they need to be there in the right way. So whether that means that they need to do executive online branding, which is, as you heard, a lot of what I do when I work with CEOs and C-suites, or their company really needs to be branded effectively online. Or they need to make sure that they're having customer response times of like 8 to 12 minutes. You know, this is how that they can, instead of fearing being in social, actually, absorb it and use it to their benefit.
Okay, and what about budgets allocated to social? I mean, obviously,
great question.
Especially in this market, everybody's trying to cut budgets rather than spend money on budgets. How can we convince the C-suite to spend or to allocate a budget for something like social? What do we do?
Budget's the fun part, right? So
Always.
always. So as I showed in my presentation, you can clearly show ROI in brand lift, in lead generation, in sales profitability, in a number of metrics, right? In SEO rank, tying that into SEO rank. So first you need to show these are the possible results, that you can have positive business results, and how that ties back to the CEO's vision and his or her culture and what he's setting forth to do in his own financial forecasting. That's kind of first, to be able to show what's going on in social. And then secondly, then you actually need to chart it out. So I wrote an article for ClickZ where I did an infographic of a budget, and I showed here's all the elements and things that you possibly need to invest in. So instead of like strapping one social media manager with writing and making graphics and managing and all these things that they're probably going to do really poorly if they're trying to do them all, and then that would hurt their brand, which is what they're trying to get away from, let's invest properly across all of those people, and then show how that investment, whether that's $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year, which is like a mean number, can then triple or quadruple their sales in the end over an annual calendar by using social media.
Okay, and you also spoke about metrics. I mean, what can we do? How can we, show the C-suite? How can we measure ROI, basically? How can we, say to them, this is working?
Right. And you know what the great thing is about the internet, and why I've been involved with it since like 1994, is that it is the place where all the metrics are there. So, for example, you can do things like turning on your social mentions in Google Analytics, run a campaign in social, and then you can test to see, okay, well, X number of people came in from Facebook, Y came in from LinkedIn, so on and so forth, right? So that's like a simple step one to show analytics. You can look at analytics within the platforms themselves to see where traffic is coming from and in-site social, which is really interesting, and not a lot of people actually consider that. And then you can also do, I talked a lot about in my presentation, testing. So you can test campaigns and landing pages, do A/B testing. And from there you can assess, okay, I did this in social, these are the leads that I drew, next quarter I do this, and this happens. So it's really about measuring and testing and daily management. But you can show the metrics, they're actually very clear.
Okay. And lastly, I mean, this is all very well for, a lot of, B2C businesses or whatever. But I mean, specifically, I've just, just before ClickZ, I came out of the financial world, and I know that social is kind of the scary thing for, the big banks. None of them, you try to go on Facebook there, and it's all banned. So. What do we do about those guys? What do we do? How do we convince them?
Great question. Most of my clients are B2B. So This is my actually sweet spot. The first thing, and I talked a little bit about it today, is you need to have like your organization on board. So what that means is talking to your HR and your legal and having a social policy set in place. Once you have those things set in place to say, okay, this is what employee A, B, and C can say, then it's a little bit easier to sell that to the C-suite, right? But why do you even want to do social? That's another question that they have. So the answer to that is because it's a branding instrument and because it's a way to maintain market lead, right? It's also a way to educate and inform your customers, even if you're not selling direct in social. So, for those reasons, it's important to be there, but the key is to have a plan and guidelines and a policy up front so that things don't go awry, right? If you know what your employees are saying and what they're doing in social media, and you have a plan around it so that when they do, because I'm a LinkedIn author and trainer, sell on LinkedIn, they have a guideline. Oh, these are the things I can say, this is what I can't say, kind of thing. And I have an admin that's supporting all of this, and meaning an administrator who's handling social media guidelines for them.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jasmine.
You're welcome.
I look forward to your next column, actually.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.